Charlie Chaplin sits across from Douglas Fairbanks at the polished mahogany table in lawyer Dennis O'Brien's Manhattan office, staring at the incorporation papers that will change Hollywood forever. Fairbanks leans forward with his characteristic enthusiasm, pointing at the signature lines with a gold fountain pen. "Charlie, we're partners now. No more studio bosses telling us what to make or how to make it." What happens in the next 23 minutes doesn't just create united artists, it launches a revolution that proves four artists can challenge an entire industry and win, transforming how creative people control their own work for generations to come. O'Brien, Driscoll and Raftery Law Offices, New York City, February 5, 1919, Wednesday afternoon, 2:30. The law office buzzes with the controlled energy of men making history. Outside, New York continues its relentless commercial rhythm, but inside this mahogany-paneled conference room, four of the world's most famous entertainers prepare to declare independence from the studio system that made them wealthy but kept them creatively captive. Charlie, at 29, has already revolutionized screen comedy, but his current contract with First National limits his artistic freedom and takes the majority of profits from his work. Across the table, Douglas Fairbanks radiates the same athletic confidence that made him America's favorite action hero. At 35, he's Hollywood's highest-paid star after Mary Pickford, but even his enormous salary comes with creative restrictions he can no longer tolerate. Mary Pickford sits beside her future husband, already calculating the business implications with the sharp intelligence that has made her the shrewdest negotiator in Hollywood. At 26, she commands higher fees than any actor in the industry, but she's tired of studios using her popularity to sell inferior films through block booking arrangements. D.W. Griffith, the veteran director at 44, represents the creative vision that will legitimize their venture. His innovative filmmaking techniques have defined cinema as an art form, but his relationship with traditional studios has grown increasingly strained over creative control disputes. The journey to this moment began 6 months earlier when Sidney Chaplin, Charlie's business manager and half-brother, detected suspicious activity in Hollywood's executive suites. Theater owners were reporting unusual pressure to sign long-term exclusive contracts. Independent exhibitors were being squeezed out by major chains. Something was consolidating power behind the scenes. Sidney hired the Pinkerton Detective Agency to investigate. Their report revealed a coordinated plan by major studios to limit star salaries and eliminate competitive bidding for talent. The studio heads had grown tired of paying astronomical fees to their biggest stars and were organizing to cap compensation across the industry. "They want to turn us into employees, highly paid employees, but employees nonetheless." Sidney shared this intelligence with Charlie during one of their regular Sunday visits at Pickfair, the Beverly Hills estate Doug shared with Mary. The three had become close friends during their 1917 Liberty Bond tour, traveling by train across America to encourage citizens to support the war effort. Their joint appearances had drawn unprecedented crowds and demonstrated their combined star power. "Charlie's right," Mary had said when they discussed the studio conspiracy. "They're trying to eliminate our bargaining power by removing our alternatives. If every major studio agrees not to bid against each other for our services, they can set whatever terms they want." Fairbanks, whose natural optimism rarely faltered, saw opportunity in the crisis. "Then we create our own alternative. Why should we work for people who want to limit our success? Let's compete against them directly." "How?" Charlie asked pragmatically. "We know how to perform, but do we know how to run a business?" "We'll learn, and we'll hire people who already know." They reached out to D.W. Griffith, whose artistic reputation would lend credibility to their venture. Initially reluctant to join what seemed like a commercial scheme, he was convinced by their argument that artistic and business freedom were inseparable. "You cannot create genuinely innovative art when your financial backers control every creative decision," Griffith told them. "Artists need the freedom to take risks, to fail, to experiment. Studios want predictable profits from proven formulas."
William McAdoo, former Secretary of the Treasury and now a practicing attorney, agreed to structure their legal framework. McAdoo understood both the financial complexities of creating a new corporation and the political implications of challenging established Hollywood power. "What you're proposing is unprecedented," McAdoo explained. "You want to create a company owned by talent rather than capital. The business community will call it socialism."
"Let them," Mary replied. "We're proposing that people who create value should control the profits from their work. That sounds like capitalism to me." Now, sitting in the New York law office, with incorporation papers before them, the four partners face the reality of their decision. Each will invest their own money, risk their careers, and compete directly against the studios that made them famous. "Before we sign," Charlie says carefully, "we should be clear about what we're really doing. We're not just starting a business, we're challenging the entire power structure of the film industry." Fairbanks nods enthusiastically. "Exactly. That's what makes it exciting. We're proving that talent can be independent." "But independence means responsibility," Mary adds. "Every decision, every success, every failure will be ours to own. No studio executives to blame when things go wrong. And no studio executives to limit us when things go right," Clifford concludes. Dennis O'Brien, the lead attorney, walks them through the legal structure. Each partner will hold 25% of the preferred shares and 20% of the common stock, with McAdoo holding the remaining 20% as their legal and financial advisor. The company will distribute films made by independent producers, including the four partners themselves. "The revolutionary aspect," O'Brien explains, "is that you're eliminating block booking. Each film will be marketed individually based on its own merit. Theater owners can choose exactly which pictures they want to show." This represents a fundamental challenge to studio economics. Major companies had built their business model on forcing exhibitors to take packages of films, a few quality pictures subsidizing many mediocre ones. United Artists proposes letting each film succeed or fail on its individual appeal. "Won't that hurt our profits?" Charlie asks. "Some films will inevitably perform better than others." "In the short term, possibly," McAdoo admits, "but in the long term, you're building a brand based on consistent quality rather than market manipulation. Audiences will trust the United Artists name because they know every film has been chosen for its merit." Barry sees the broader implications. "We're not just changing how films are sold, we're changing how they're made. When artists control distribution, they can take creative risks that studios would never approve." As they prepare to sign the incorporation papers, each partner reflects on what they're risking and what they hope to achieve. For Charlie, United Artists represents artistic freedom. His comedy works best when he can control every aspect of production: writing, directing, editing, and timing. Studio interference has always frustrated his perfectionist instincts. "I want to make films that say something meaningful about human experience. Studios want me to repeat successful formulas. With United Artists, I can explore new ideas even if they don't guarantee profits." Fairbanks sees the venture as natural evolution of his entrepreneurial spirit. Always more interested in adventure than security, he views competing against established studios as the ultimate challenge. "We've conquered audiences. Now let's conquer the business itself. Let's prove that artists can run companies better than businessmen can create art." Mary's motivation combines creative and financial ambitions. As someone who has fought for control throughout her career, she understands that artistic freedom depends on economic independence. "I'm tired of making other people rich from my work," she states plainly. "If our films generate profits, those profits should belong to us. If we fail, we'll only have ourselves to blame." Griffith views United Artists as essential for cinema's artistic development. Having pioneered many fundamental filmmaking techniques, he wants to continue innovating without studio constraints. The film industry is still young, its artistic possibilities are barely explored, but studios care more about protecting investments than pushing boundaries. Independent production is necessary for cinema to mature as an art form.
At 2:53 p.m., they signed the papers. 4 signatures that will reshape Hollywood power dynamics and establish a model for artist-owned businesses that persists today.
The immediate industry reaction is skeptical to hostile. Richard Rowland, head of Metro Pictures, reportedly says the inmates are taking over the asylum. Other studio executives predict rapid failure, arguing that creative people lack business discipline. But the partners have prepared for criticism by assembling experienced business support. Hiram Abrams, a respected distribution executive, agrees to serve as their first managing director. They lease offices at 729 7th Avenue in New York and begin recruiting independent producers whose films they will distribute. Their first releases prove the concept viable. Mary's films continue drawing huge audiences, but now she controls both the creative process and financial returns. Charlie's meticulous production methods result in fewer but more profitable releases. Fairbanks' adventure spectacles, like The Mark of Zorro, demonstrate that star vehicles can be both artistically ambitious and commercially successful. More importantly, United Artists attracts other artists seeking independence. Producers, directors, and performers who had felt constrained by studio systems now have an alternative that promises creative freedom with financial reward. The success creates ripple effects throughout the industry. Other studios begin offering their top talent more creative control to prevent defections. Block booking practices face increasing legal challenges. The rigid studio system that once seemed permanent begins adapting to competitive pressure from artist-owned companies. Years later, when film students ask Charlie about the decision to form United Artists, he emphasizes the courage required to challenge established power structures. People told us we were crazy to compete against companies that controlled theaters, distribution networks, and production facilities, Charlie recalls. But we had something they couldn't buy, the talent that audiences actually wanted to see. What made you confident you could succeed? We weren't confident we would succeed. We were confident we had to try. Creative people cannot depend on others to protect their interests. Independence requires risk, but dependence guarantees limitation. Fairbanks, until his death in 1939, remained proud of their revolutionary venture. His final public statement about United Artists emphasized its broader significance. We didn't just start a company, we proved that artists could control their own destinies. Every creative person who owns their work benefits from what we established. The 23 minutes they spent signing incorporation papers in February 1919 created more than a business partnership. They demonstrated that creative individuals could successfully challenge institutional power when they combined talent with strategic thinking and mutual support. United Artists survived the partners' eventual departures, continuing to distribute innovative films for decades. But its most lasting impact was proving that artists need not accept whatever terms existing systems offer. They can create better systems themselves. The mahogany conference table where they signed those papers has been preserved in the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences archives, a reminder that sometimes the most revolutionary acts happen quietly, with fountain pens rather than protests, creating lasting change through careful planning rather than dramatic gestures. Their handwritten signatures on those incorporation papers represent the moment when 4 creative individuals chose independence over security, proving that talent combined with courage can reshape entire industries.